God told me, here you go. For out of prison he cometh to reign. Whereas also he that is born in his kingdom becometh poor. What did God say to me while I was sitting in that jail cell? He said, it ain't going to be easy, son. And in order for you to have dominion, you're going to have to win over some warfare. You're going to have to fight through some things. You're even going to have to fight yourself because you're going to become your own enemy at times. He said, but I got a word for you. You coming out of prison to reign. You're coming out of prison to dominate. You're coming out of prison to occupy. You're coming out of prison to lift me up. You're coming out of prison so somebody else might see the glory of God in and on your life. Tell somebody, I'm coming out too. Whatever prison you in, if you my child, you're coming out of prison to reign. If I'm birthing you, if I'm feeding you, whatever's good for your daddy is good for you. I don't want a church full of members. I don't want people coming to hear me preach. I want sons and daughters that want to get an inheritance of what God has for you. The church can shrink for all I care. We've come to that place. We all got some stuff. Everybody brings some baggage. Nobody on that. Folk that think they got all the answers. Want to call me, text me, email me with all the solutions to the church. You ain't even running your own house. You ain't even running your own business. You ain't even running your own mind. And here you going to run the church. Hush and sit down. Find out where you fit in because God's got a plan, not you. He would have spoke to you before you got here. God is trying to bring us into conformity so that we might fulfill his will. But we've got to do it together. Now, there's no doubt there's some people that might be ticked off with me. Might be ticked off with Pastor John. You might be ticked off with Doc Bev. You might be ticked off with Elder Long. You might be ticked off with the ministers. You might be ticked off with the deacons. But you either be here, hush, and be ticked off, or go somewhere else and be ticked off. But you ain't getting ready to mess nobody else up. I ain't getting ready to let you become no cancer. I'm not getting ready to let you divide yourself and spoil. You either ticked off and hush or ticked off and out. Because whoever God has set in place, from the last minister to get oil on them today, that's what God has done. I don't get no extra money because somebody get anointed. Don't nothing happen for us in leadership except for another headache to have to deal with, another ego to have to manage. Don't you get confused that you the only meow in the cat. But God is letting you get through your stuff, not because you better than everybody else, but because you better than your trouble. You better than your affliction. You better than your issue, not because you better than other people. But he won't use a false balance. The kabod will have to weigh in and at least match and more likely exceed the situation that you have to deal with, because your circumstance is going to produce a testimony. All right, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 16 through 17. For which cause we faint not, but though our outward man perish, yet the inward man is renewed day by day. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal what? Weight of glory. All right, listen to it in the Amplified. You don't believe me? Therefore, we do not become discouraged, utterly spiritless, exhausted, and wearied out through fear. Though our outer man is progressively decaying and wasting away, yet our inner self is being progressively renewed day after day. For our light momentary affliction This slight distress of the passing hour is ever more and more abundantly preparing and producing and achieving for us an everlasting weight of glory beyond all measure, excessively surpassing all comparisons and all calculations of vast and transcendent glory and blessedness never to cease. Okay, read it in the Message Bible. So we're not giving up. How could we? Even though on the outside it often looks like things are falling apart on us. On the inside, where God is making a new life, not a day goes by without his unfolding grace. These hard times are small potatoes compared to the coming good times and the lavish celebration prepared for us. See, God is saying that even though you're going through languish now, it's going to be lavish later. God is saying that even though it hurts right now, you're going to be happy later. Somebody say it gets greater later. God is using this temporary setback to propel you into a perpetual greatness that will never cease. Your trouble go in, but his glory won't. I tell somebody, this ain't it. This ain't all there is to me. I'm more than meets the eye. God ain't finished producing and preparing stuff in me. You thought this was the end of the book? Baby, this ain't it. It might be the end of a chapter, but it ain't the end of a book. Don't close it now. It's just getting good. Oh, it might look like some things went wrong, but it's just about to turn around. Tell somebody, this ain't it. God is saying to us, if you stay connected, that this is not the end of the story. You got to stay plugged in. You've got to stay linked to the source. Now, this isn't a sermon or a message about Bishop or about St. Paul, but it could be. It's definitely, though, about God. It's definitely about the will of God. He might use Bishop. He might use St. Paul as your link and your source. If you think that's what he's doing, that's why you're here. If you think he's not, then you're silly for still sitting here. If you're just trying to wonder if God's going to speak to you in this place about being somewhere else, it don't happen like that. But it'll work for a while if we try to run off of spiritual batteries. Most of the church trying to live off spiritual batteries. We see the light done turn green, so we unplug it and we walk away. And we get out here, and because we're getting some particular signals on the cell phone, and it looks like we got 4 bars or we got Verizon, and we think we got all them people behind us helping us to keep in tune with the rest of the world, because it seems like it's a clear connection, we didn't watch the battery level. So when trouble come, you trying to act like you would when you plugged in, but it don't happen like that because you running on empty. See, because any time that your battery level is less than half, it ain't half full, it's half empty. It's going down, it's decreasing, and everything that's connected to what's decreasing is also deflating. So we got half the church plugged in, and the other half working off a battery. Now, the thing that's plugged in has to deal with the same type of stuff that the stuff on battery got to deal with, but there'll be an extra inch or extra support and source that goes into the one that's plugged in that don't run out. Are you with me? Tell somebody your light's flashing. You guys know me, I buy stuff and I never read the instructions. I figure out how to turn it on and I go from there. So one day, somebody said, Bishop, your ear thing is flashing. I said, oh, it is? And they said, yeah, either you need to put it on the charger or you got a message. Oh, it got quiet right there then. I'm trying to tell some of y'all your spiritual Bluetooth is flashing. Either you need to get back to the charger or you got a message. There's something God's trying to tell you. You better put in your passcode and find out what's being said, because this might be the message that saved your life. You might be here today because your earplug was flashing. You thought you was all right because you looked like you had good connectivity, but your battery running low. So either way, it might beep or it might flash. You might have a message Or it might indicate that a connection is needed. Connection is essential in order for you to manifest. I know we're about ready to go. For the past couple of months, we've been emphasizing connection.